Hello dear students, welcome to this online video lecture. Myself, Miss Patil SD from SGM College, Karad. I am conducting here this video lecture under the Rayat Online School Education, that is the ROSE project. I am conducting here the first video lecture from the biology. The topic name is plant-water relation. The mark distribution is compulsory marks 5 and with option 7 marks. In this topic, we see the points. First point is properties of water. Second, water absorbing organ. Third, water available to roots for absorption. Fourth, absorption of water by roots from the soil. Fifth, water potential. Sixth, plasmolysis. Seventh, path of water across the root. Eighth, mechanism of absorption of water. 9. Translocation of water. 10. Transport of mineral ions. 11. Transport of food. 12. Transpiration. And last, structure of stomatal apparatus. Go to the next slide. Introduction. We know that plant absorbs the water and minerals from the soil and obtain gases like O2 and CO2 from surrounding atmosphere. So that first point is plant obtains a variety of substances like water and minerals, nutrients, food and gases like O2 and CO2 from its surrounding. Water constitutes almost 90 to 95% of the most plant cells and tissues. Water helps the cells to maintain turgidity and shape. When plant absorbs the water, then plant cells is fully turgid, means swelled. Then go to the next slide. First point is properties of water. It is in the liquid form at a room temperature and is the best solvent for most of the solutes. Water is the best solvent because of within the water like salt, sugar is also soluble, so that water is also known as the best solvent for most solutes. Second, in pure form, it is inert inorganic compound with a neutral pH. Hence, water is the best transporting medium for dissolved minerals and molecules. It is the best aqueous medium for all biochemical reactions occurring in the cells. Within the cells, with the help of water, plant cells takes place the many biochemical reactions. Go to the next slide. Next, properties of water. It is an essential raw material for photosynthesis. In the photosynthesis process, with the help of water, plants make their own food material with the help of sunlight, then carbon dioxide and also water. This process is called as photosynthesis. Water has high specific heat, then high heat of vaporization and high heat of fusion. Due to this, it acts as a thermal buffer. All these various properties are due to hydrogen bonds between water molecule. Between water molecule means between hydrogen and oxygen, it consists of bonds of a hydrogen. Go to the next slide. Next point is water absorbing organ. Then out of 5 typical parts of the plants, root is main absorbing organ which are help in absorption of water and nutrients from the soil. So that we see it is the main organ of water and mineral absorption. Then in terrestrial plants, water gets absorbed in the form of liquid from the soil. In terrestrial plants, in liquid form water is available. Then in epiphytic plant, epiphytic means, epi means above and phyta means other plant body. On the other plant body, some plants are grows, so that these plants are called as epiphytic plant and their roots are called as epiphytic roots. Example like orchid, then vanda, then dendrobium. So that in orchid plants, water gets absorbed in the form of vapors from the air with the help of epiphytic roots having a special tissue called velamen. In epiphytic plant, this special tissue is help for absorption of moisture from the surrounding atmosphere or air. These points which are most important to the according to the NCERT or CET exam. Then typical root is divisible into 4 different regions like zone of absorption, epidermal cells which are also called as epiblema cells form a unicellular hair-like extensions called root hairs. On the root regions of root, we see the many small hair-like outgrowths which are called as root hairs, and these root hairs which are which are help to plant body for absorption of water and minerals. So that the root regions which are divided into main 5 regions. First one region of meristematic activity, second one region of elongation, third one region of maturation, and fourth one region of root hairs, and last one region of root cap. We go to the next slide. These are the typical structure of root. In this diagram, we will see the first label is root cap, and it is also known as the first region of root, which are present at the tip or apex of the root. Second region is meristematic region. Meristos means to divide. In this region, cells are rapidly divided, so that this region is meristematic region. Third region is zone of elongation. When cell is divided, then cell get elongated and also increase their size. Fourth region is region of root hairs, which are also called as region of absorption, and last is region of maturation. Here different cells are different. Go to the next slide. Next point is structure of root hair. Root hair is a cytoplasmic extensions or prolongations of epiblema cells. Each root hair may be approximately 1 to 10 mm long and tube-like structure. It is colorless, unbranched, short-lived, and very delicate. Root hairs are very sensitive or delicate organ of the root. Then it has a large central vacuole surrounded by a thin film of cytoplasm, plasma membrane, and thin cell wall, which is a two-layered. Outer layer is composed of pectin and inner layer is made up of a cellulose. In the plant cell, we know that the cell wall is made up of from most of the substance like cellulose, also which are made up of from pectin. Okay. Cell wall is freely permeable, but plasma membrane is selectively permeable. Freely permeable means out from the plasma membrane from the cell wall, some materials are uh, enter inside, but some molecules are selected molecules are go inside, which are also called as selectively permeable. In the diagram, this is the diagram of root hair, structure of root hair. In this diagram, we see here this structure of the root hair. In this, it is the outer cell wall, outer cell membrane and inner cell membrane. Then in this diagram, here it is a large vacuole. Here it is a large vacuole. Then out upper side, here the mitochondrial cell is present. Here nucleus is present, and these are the cytoplasmic extensions. Go to the next slide. Water available to roots for absorption. Plant absorbs water from the rhizosphere. Water is present in the soil, occurs as a gravitational, which are also called as free water, then hygroscopic water, then combined water, and last capillary water. Out of these, first is gravitational water, or it is also called as free water. Water percolates deep due to the gravity in the soil. It is called as gravitational water. This is not available to plants for absorption. First water is gravitational water, and which is not available to plants for absorption. Second, hygroscopic water. Fine soil particles imbibe or absorb a water and hold it. It is called as hygroscopic water. Fine soil particles which are held by the root hairs, it is called as hygroscopic water, and which is also not available to plant body for absorption. Next, third water is combined water. Water is present in the form of hydrated oxides of silicon, aluminum, etc. It is called as combined water, and it is also not available to plants for absorption. This water is also not available for absorption to plant body. And then last water is capillary water. Some amount of water is held in pores present between the neighboring soil particles due to the capillarity. It is called as capillary water, and it is available to plants for absorption. Out of these four waters, the capillary water is also available, only available for absorption of water to the plant body. For plant body, only capillary water is available, so that in CET exam these questions will be asked. Next, go to the slide. Absorption of water by roots from the soil. Root hairs absorbs water by three physical processes like imbibition, diffusion, and osmosis. First, imbibition. The absorption of water by hydrophilic compounds is called imbibition. What hydrophilic means? The water-loving molecule. With the help of these compounds, water is absorbed. This process is called as imbibition. When water molecules get tightly absorbed on the surface of the compounds without forming a solution, due to imbibition, these compounds shows a swelling. When imbibition process is complete and water is absorbed by the hydrophilic compound, then these compounds shows a swelling or turgid. Go to the next slide. The hydrophilic compounds like cellulose and pectic compounds in root hair's cell wall is imbibe water. The substance that absorbs water or liquid is called as imbibant, and water or liquid that gets imbibed is called as imbibate. It is significant in soaking of seeds, swelling up of dried resins, kneading of flour, etc. Go to the next slide. Diffusion pressure. Diffusion results in the diffusion pressure, in short we call dP, which is directly proportional to the number of diffusing particles. Diffusion pressure of the pure solvent or pure water is always more than the diffusion pressure of a solvent in a solution. The difference in the diffusion pressure of pure solvent and the solvent in a solution is called diffusion pressure deficit. In short, we call DPD, or it is also called as suction pressure, SP. Go to the next slide. The term was first coined by B.S. Mayer in 1938. Nowadays, the term water potential is used for DPD. Diffusion pressure deficit, now we call a water potential. Then term DPD is actually the thirst of cell with which it absorbs water from the surroundings. Water around the cell wall has more diffusion pressure than cell sap, hence water moves in the cell by diffusion. Diffusion is significant in plants in the absorption of water and minerals and conduction of water against the gravity, exchange of gases, and transport and distribution of food. Go to the next slide. Second process is osmosis. In this process, or it is a process by which water enters into the cytoplasm of the root hair cells. It is a special type of diffusion of solvent through a semi-permeable membrane. The cytoplasm of root hair cells contains minerals, sugars, etc. That is, the solution inside the cell is more concentrated than or stronger than the outside of the cell, that is weaker. Therefore, solvent from weaker solution enters into the cytoplasm, that is a stronger solution of cell, through a semi-permeable plasma membrane. This migration of solvent is called osmosis. See this point. Therefore, solvent from weaker solution enters into a cytoplasm, that is stronger solution. Means what? The solution is moved from weaker solution to the stronger solution. It is this migration or this process is called as osmosis. Thus, enter into the cytoplasm of the root hair cells due to the osmosis. With respect to the concentration and osmotic migration, there are three types of solutions are like hypotonic, hypertonic, and isotonic. Go to the next slide. First is hypotonic solution. In that, These solutions having low osmotic concentration means that external solution is more dilute than the cytoplasm. Second, hypertonic. The solution which is having high osmotic concentration means that external solution is more concentrated than the cytoplasm. In this hypotonic solution, the cell is fully turgid, and hypertonic solution, the cell is or the cell wall of the cell which is a shrunken type. Next, last is isotonic. Having such a concentration of solution, there is neither gain nor loss of water in an osmotic system. That is, the solute concentration outside and inside the cell is same. Here, in the isotonic solution, there is no effect on the cell or also inside the cell. Means not effect inside the cell or on the cell wall. Go to the next slide. The types of osmosis. First one, exosmosis, and second type is endosmosis. In exosmosis, we see it is the migration of the solvent from the cell outside. It causes a flaccidity of the cell. In the exosmosis, we know that the cell inside the cell, which solution is present, which are released throughout the body. And in endosmosis, it is the migration of the solvent into the cell. Second point, it causes a turgidity of the cell, that is, the cytoplasm becomes turgid. When endosmosis occur, or the water which is absorbed by the plant cell, the cell is get turgid, means swelled. Turgidity increases the turgor pressure, that is Tp of the cell. Go to the next slide. Turgidity pressure. It is the pressure exerted by turgid cell sap onto the cell membrane and cell wall. In fully turgid cell, dPd is always 0. Cell wall being thick and rigid exerts a counter pressure on the cell sap is called a wall pressure, in short a WP. In fully turgid cell, Tp is equal to WP. Turgor pressure is equal to wall pressure, but operating in opposite directions. Go to the next slide. Importance of turgor pressure. First, it keeps the cells and organelles stretched, provides and support to the non-woody tissues. It is essential for cell enlargement during growth. To maintain the shape a shape of the cell and facilitates opening and closing of stoma. Go to the next slide. Next point is osmotic pressure. In short, we call OP. The pressure exerted due to the osmosis is osmotic pressure. It is a pressure of the solutions which is required in opposite direction so as to stop the entry of solvent molecules into the cell. Osmotic pressure of a solution is equivalent to the pressure which must be exerted upon it to prevent flow of solvent across the semi-permeable membrane. dPd is equal to osmotic pressure minus Tp, turgor pressure. Here, turgor pressure is equal to wall pressure. So, dPd is equal to osmotic pressure minus wall pressure. In flaccid cell, the turgor pressure is 0, means dPd, diffusion pressure deficit, is equal to osmotic pressure. And in turgid cell, the dPd is 0, then turgor pressure is equal to osmotic pressure. Here, these concepts are very important. Go to the next slide. Importance of osmosis. First, it is responsible for absorption of water into the root. It maintains turgidity of cell. It facilitates cell-to-cell movement of water. It offers resistance to drought, frost, etc. It also helps in the drooping of leaflets and leaves in a vicinity of touch me not plant, means Lazaru plant. Here the example of Lazaru plant. Go to the next slide. Facilitated diffusion. The passive absorption of solutes when mediated by carriers is called facilitated diffusion. Particles that are lipid soluble can easily diffuse through lipoproteinous cell membrane. The cell membrane which is made up of from lipid plus protein part. The diffusion of hydrophilic solutes has to be facilitated because their diffusion across the cell membrane is difficult. Cell membrane proteins provide such a sites for facilitated diffusion. Go to the next slide. These proteins are aquaporins and ion channels. These proteins help move substances across the membrane without the expenditure of energy, means here no use of energy. Concentration gradient must be present for the molecules to be diffused through a facilitated diffusion. Go to the next slide. There are three different types of diffusion processes of facilitated. Some carrier proteins allow diffusion only if two types of molecules move together. In symport, both molecules cross the membrane in the same direction. And in antiport, both the molecules cross the membrane in opposite directions. And in uniport, molecules move across the membrane independent of the other. Here means direction is same. Here the opposite direction, and in uniport, here the both molecules are move across the one of the other, means independent of the other membrane. Go to the next slide. Water potential. Osmotic movement of water is on the basis of free energy. Free energy per molecule in a chemical system is called chemical potential. Chemical potential of water is called water potential, and it is represented by a Greek letter psi. Water potential of protoplasm is equal but opposite in sign to dPd. It has negative value. The unit of measurement in bars or pascals or atmospheres. Go to the next slide. Water potential of pure water is always 0. In MCQs, this question will be asked. The addition of any solute in a water decreases its psi value, therefore it has a negative value. Water always flows from less negative potential to more negative water potential. Difference between water potential of the adjacent cells decides the movement of water through a plasmodesmata across the cells. Go to the next slide. Factors affecting water absorption. First, presence of capillary water is essential. Second, rate of water absorption is maximum at soil temperature between 20 degree to 30 degree Celsius. High concentration of solutes in soil water reduced the rate of absorption of water. Poorly aerated soil shows a poor absorption rate. Increased the transpiration accelerates the rate of absorption of water in the irrigated soils. Go to the next slide. Here, from the first lecture, we'll see all these points. Thank you.